Huh? What are you doing in my swamp?
Hello everybody, this is Overboard. I'm going to be doing my review for all 11 of the Spider-Man movie villains. These are just going to be for the live-action ones though, so the villains from Into the Spider-Verse I'm not going to include on this list. I'm thinking as the Spider-Verse animated movies start coming out and we get more of them, I might start doing villain rankings of those separately from the live action ones, and maybe sometime I'll do a full ranking with all of them. And I'm not including villains from the Venom movies because they're not Spider-Man movies, no matter what Sony tries to tell us. At least for right now, I'm excluding those. If this universe of Spider-Man characters builds up more later, I might do a big ranking with them eventually, but for right now I'm just sticking with the ones that are in the Spider-Man movies, live action movies. And I'm also not going to include the shockers that were in Homecoming because they don't have much to do in there and everything. I don't feel like they really deserve to be on here because they're not full-fledged villains. They're more henchmen to Vulture, so they're not going to be on here either. But I just wanted to clarify all that, and I'm going to go ahead and get going. Coming in at number 11 is the Rhino from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. If we had gotten more of this character, if we would have gotten The Amazing Spider-Man 3, he could have been higher maybe, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Paul Giamatti. I love almost everything he's in, and he was very crazy and over the top in this movie. And when I saw it the first time, I thought I kind of liked him because he's kind of campy and stuff, but every time I rewatched it, he just kind of starts getting on my nerves, the way he talks and his gibberish stuff, and he's yelling and stuff, and it's just kind of annoying. And he's only in there at the very beginning of the movie for a few minutes, and then at the very end of it for a few minutes. It's barely even in it. He's just there to help set up the Sinister Six movie that Sony was wanting to do at the time, and I don't really like Rhino that much, to be honest with you. Maybe if we got more of him, he'd be higher, but for right now, he's number 11. And number 10 is the Lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man No Way Home. I did not care for this villain. I think Rhys Ifans is a pretty good actor, but I felt like they just totally wasted him in both movies. Like, the Lizard just was not very likable or anything in the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. I didn't care for him at all, and it kind of just reinforced that feeling after watching Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, he's the only villain that doesn't have anything at all to do. If they would have cut him from No Way Home, it wouldn't have changed the movie at all whatsoever, because he literally did nothing in this movie. He pretty much was just sitting in the cell for the first little bit of it, and then when they go to the apartment and stuff in No Way Home, he's just stuck in a truck and everything. He literally brings nothing to the table with these characters and everything. He's there to be there. I don't really like him. So Lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man No Way Home is number 10. And number 9 is New Goblin from Spider-Man 3. I actually like the New Goblin a lot, and I considered putting him up higher, but seeing that he kind of becomes good at the end of it, which I guess isn't really fair because someone else on here kind of becomes good too, but I never really took New Goblin seriously as a villain. Like he doesn't really try to do a lot of villainy stuff. He only wants revenge on Peter. He doesn't really want to do much harm to others and stuff, and everything. I love the story though that they built up over the 3 movies with Harry wanting to get revenge on Spider-Man. He finds out about Peter during the towards the end of Spider-Man 2 and everything, and it sets it up really well and everything. I think that he's pretty good. I think it would have been a lot better if the movie focused more on him as a villain though, instead of making him have amnesia and stuff. But for what it is, I think he's fine. But I don't think he's like the best villain. So New Goblin is number 9, and number 8 is Venom from Spider-Man 3. I don't completely hate this version of Venom like most people do, but I do feel he was really shoehorned into the movie. They could have found a way to make him written better. Personally, like I said, I think they should have ended 3 with Venom kind of just arriving, and then done 4 as like a done 3 as a 2-parter movie or something, because he was just kind of shoehorned in there during the forced last act and everything. But I think he was okay. I don't think Topher Grace is near as bad as everybody says he is. He's not super great. He definitely didn't really fit the role of Venom, but for this version of the character, I thought he was okay. And personally, I'd rather watch this version of Venom than the 2 actual movies that are about Venom. So this movie I kind of have gained a little bit more respect for after seeing Venom Let There Be Cringe. So but like I said, I never have been a huge fan of this version. I think he's alright. So Venom is number 8, and number 7 is Green Goblin from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This one, like Venom, he was just shoehorned in at the end of the movie, and they tried to market him as a surprise and stuff in the trailers. They tried not to show him very much, and then in the TV spots they ended up showing him. And as soon as they showed him, I knew what they were going to do with this movie. I knew they were going to kill off Gwen Stacy and stuff. Plus the trailers kind of showed, or TV spots I saw showed her falling and stuff. But that's the main reason he's above Venom, is because he actually really does screw up this version of Peter Parker and everything. And No Way Home kind of makes me respect him even more, because like you see how much he damaged Peter and stuff by killing Gwen and everything. And so I love that about him, and I think he could have been a lot better of a villain if they would have written him a lot better. Obviously, I mean, we've seen Green Goblin written very well, and everything. And Dane DeHaan, I don't think he's that great of an actor, but you could tell he was having fun in the performance, and he was fine, I guess, for this version. I'm not a huge fan of the Amazing Spider-Man movies anyway, to be honest, but I thought that he got the job done for what they were trying to do. It didn't go anywhere. I think if we would have gotten more movies with this version of Green Goblin, and like I said, if they would have continued the Amazing Spider-Man universe, he may or may not have rose up or dropped lower. It's hard to say, but for what it is, with the one we got, he's just very mediocre and everything. So he's number 7. And this is the last one out of the ones that I thought are just kind of mediocre villains. Pretty much from the rest up are ones that I like quite a bit. So anyway, coming in at number 6 is Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home. I actually have always really liked Electro. I always thought he was kind of relatable. He's this nerdy dude that's kind of a loner and everything, and he's shy and kind of a likable character. I really like him in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I never understood it for him. Yeah, he looks really dorky and stuff. He has his comb over and all that, and then when he becomes Electro, he becomes this blue CGI monster, which I do hate his look in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I like the way the character was written in that one. And then they bring him in to Spider-Man No Way Home and give him a whole new makeover and everything. He pretty much just looks like Jamie Foxx in this one, and I like both versions though. I think they did a good job on both versions and everything. Even though he looked different, and acted more like Jamie Foxx than he did in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. You can still see hints of that character in here and stuff, especially like this, when he's talking about, is this why we're in the woods? I hate the woods and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that sounds like something his version would say, and I like Electro. I think he's a decent villain that deserved a lot better. He got to be in one of the weaker Spider-Man movies and everything, but I think he's kind of underrated. I always have, though, and I actually really do like him. I think Jamie Foxx does a really good job playing him. So Electro is number 6, and number 5 is Sandman from Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man No Way Home. This is another one that I really like quite a bit. I've always liked Sandman, and he was one of the highlights of Spider-Man 3 for me. Like, they should have just made the main villains of the movie be Sandman and the new Goblin, and maybe use that symbiote suit in there. Because personally, the stuff when he's in the symbiote suit really doesn't bother me like it does everybody else. I actually liked it. I just felt they shouldn't have shoehorned Venom. But Sandman is a pretty good character. I like how he's kind of sympathetic and stuff. He's doing all these bad deeds, but he's trying to do it because he wants to save his daughter who is sick and everything. I think he has a good backstory and I know a lot of people don't like the whole Uncle Ben thing, the way they retcon that, and I can get it, but at the same time I kind of like it too, because it kind of brings things full circle in the story and everything. So I think for the most part I really enjoy Spider-Man No Way Home, and I mean Sandman in both versions of them and everything. And Spider-Man No Way Home, he's just wanting to get the box. He's teaming up with these other villains to try to get to Peter so he can get the box so he can go home to his daughter and everything. I know a lot of people have said they're confused by his motivations. I'm like, it's pretty obvious. He's just wanting to get the box. He's not even trying to help the villains take him down. He's just trying to get to that box so he can go home. That's all he wants. And I think they did a good job with him in both versions. I wish we would have seen Thomas Hayden Church more in No Way Home, but I think they did a good job for what it is. So Sandman is number 5, and number 4 is Mysterio from Spider-Man Far From Home. This one in my number 3 spot. I really debated on who I was going to put. I probably could change it the next time I do this list, because I loved both of them a lot. But this one, I think I put at number 4 just because I don't like his motivations as much. I don't like the whole reason he's wanting to ruin Peter Parker's life and all that is because he was rejected by Tony Stark, and Tony Stark made fun of his technology. I thought that was kind of a dumb motivation, but he is a really good villain though. I love like how at the beginning of the movie and stuff, he like tricks you into thinking that he's a good guy, even though the entire audience knew that Mysterio is a bad guy and he's known for his illusions and stuff, but nobody, I think, expected them to pull it off the way they did, where it even convinces you in the movie, because it did me anyway, that it convinced me that he was a good guy and everything. I was like, I think they're twisting this around where he's actually going to be a good character, and then halfway through the movie you get the reveal that he's not actually good. He really is a villain, and I think he is a really good villain though. I love a lot of the illusion scenes and stuff, especially that first scene when Spider-Man's like going through all these different illusions and stuff, and you see the zombie Iron Man and stuff. That's an awesome sequence, one of the best scenes in the entire Spider-Man franchise. So I absolutely love the way they did it in Spider-Man Far From Home, and I think Mysterio is a really great villain, so he's number 4. And number 3 is Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. I've always loved him too. I think he's a very, very great villain. He actually kind of felt reminiscent of the villains from the Raimi trilogy. Like he's kind of an everyday person. He doesn't have he's not super evil and stuff. He just wants to take care of his family. He's relatable in a lot of ways, like some of these other characters are and everything. Like he's an everyman person, and I love that about it. Like you can relate to him, and you can also sympathize with him and stuff. It's just very well written, and Michael Keaton is absolutely excellent as Vulture. Like it really shows his talent and stuff. Like in the scene when Peter goes to their house to pick up Liz and finds out that he's her dad and everything, that was a really awesome twist. I remember seeing that in the theater, and everybody was just shook by that. Like you could hear gasps and stuff in the theater when he opened the door and everything, and it like showed like him being a fun-loving dad and stuff. And then on the entire ride there and everything, he's getting darker and stuff as he's realizing that Peter is Spider-Man. It's just the way he transitions and stuff is so perfect. Michael Keaton is just absolutely perfect in this movie, and I had some hopes that Michael Keaton would pop up as Vulture in No Way Home as the sixth member of the Sinister Six, but fortunately he didn't. But that's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to Morbius, is I can't wait to see what they do with him later on and everything. So Vulture is number 3, and number 2 is Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home. This is one that for the longest time I would say was my favorite Spider-Man villain. And part of it was I've always had trouble choosing between this and my number 1 spot, but No Way Home kind of solidified my number 1 spot after it kind of ended that debate, and I'll talk more about him in a minute. But Doc Ock is just really, really great villain, very well written. I love like his sympathetic backstory and stuff, and like how he kind of becomes good at the end of it. Like I mentioned with New Goblin, he kind of becomes good too. I just think that his redemption arc was written a lot better than Green Goblin's, or New Goblin, I mean. But I love this movie. I love the movies that he's in. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite superhero movie of all time, still. And Spider-Man No Way Home is my 3rd favorite Spider-Man movie, and part of it is because of this guy, getting to see him back. That scene on the bridge in No Way Home is just excellent, and you get the fight scene in Spider-Man 2 on the train, which is one of my favorite action scenes in any superhero movie. I just love that scene. And Doc Ock is just excellent, and Alfred Molina is absolutely perfect at playing him and everything. I just love this version of the character. So Doc Ock is number 2, and my number 1 favorite Spider-Man movie villain of all time is Green Goblin. And while I say that Spider-Man 2 is my favorite superhero movie of all time, I can't deny that Green Goblin is still the best Spider-Man villain, though. He's one of the best comic book movie villains of all time, and Willem Dafoe is just absolutely perfect as this character. He was amazing in the 2002 version and stuff, and he's just as good, if not even better, in Spider-Man No Way Home. The way he just switches off and on from Norman to the Goblin throughout both of these movies is absolutely spot on perfect. And he did a lot of damage in No Way Home. Like he messed up a lot of stuff in that movie, and he is just absolutely perfect. I love all the crap he put poor Peter through. Like, you feel bad for Peter, but you also love seeing him go through that stuff, because that's part of what makes him Spider-Man. Is all the stuff that happens to him is part of what makes him. But I love Green Goblin. He's just absolutely perfect. He's one of the best, like I said, superhero movie villains of all time. Yeah, and I think as far as Marvel villains go, he's possibly my favorite of all time. I debate between him and Thanos, because I love Thanos too. Out of the Marvel villains and everything, he wouldn't be my favorite comic book villain of all time, because that still goes to Joker. But I love Green Goblin. He's just absolutely amazing, and Willem Dafoe just does such a great job playing him and everything. So anyway, that's my ranking for the villains of the Spider-Man movies. Sorry this took a while for me to do. I've been debating on whether I wanted to do this ranking or not and everything, and how I would rank them, because some of them are kind of harder to rank, like the bottom part of them, like because the ones that I'm not as big of a fan of are a lot harder than the ones that I do like a lot. But yeah, so anyway, let me know in the comments how you would rank the Spider-Man movie villains. If you don't want to do a ranking of all 11 of these villains, tell me your favorites and least favorites. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everybody.